Nigeria sits on the ninth largest proven oil reserves on the planet. For decades, it imported refined fuel, paying foreign refineries to process its own crude, then buying it back at a premium. One man decided that was insane. What happened next reveals everything broken about how resource-rich nations actually work. Nigeria produces roughly 1.5 million barrels of crude every single day. That crude gets exported to Europe, India, and Asia. Those countries refine it into petrol, diesel, and jet fuel. Then Nigeria buys it back at full international market price. In dollars it has to earn or borrow. Think about that like a farmer who grows wheat, sells it to a mill, then buys back bread at bakery prices every single day for 60 years. That is not bad luck. That is a system. And systems like that exist for one reason. Some persons are getting paid to keep the system broken. Nigeria had 4 state-owned refineries. They ran at roughly 20% capacity, not because the technology was impossible, because the maintenance contracts were awarded, money collected, and work never done. The refineries stayed broken because broken was profitable for the people holding the contracts. This is the ultimate failure of public corporate governance, a system where zero accountability transformed national assets into private revenue streams. Economists call this a rentier structure. The dysfunction is not the problem. The dysfunction is the product. Into this, in 2013, Aliko Dangote announced he was building the largest single-train refinery on Earth. Nobody took him seriously. To understand what Dangote is actually doing, you need to go back 150 years. 1865. The American oil industry is pure chaos. Thousands of small operators drilling in Pennsylvania. Prices collapsing one week, spiking the next. Railroads gouging producers on shipping costs. Refiners operating on margins so thin, one bad month could wipe them out. Into this mess walks a 26-year-old bookkeeper named John D. Rockefeller. His insight was not about oil, it was about structure. He saw that the money was not in drilling oil, but in controlling what happened to oil after it left the ground. Refining, transportation, distribution. So he built refineries, then bought his competitors, then built pipelines to bypass the railroads bleeding him dry. He made his own barrels to cut out the middlemen. By 1880, Standard Oil controlled 90% of American refining capacity. He didn't drill the most oil. He controlled the choke point everything had to pass through. That is vertical integration used as a weapon, not efficiency for its own sake, but efficiency deployed as structural dominance. Dangote read the same playbook. The Dangote refinery sits in Lekki, Lagos. It cost $20 billion to build. Capacity, 650,000 barrels per day, enough to cover Nigeria's entire domestic fuel demand and still supply a significant portion of West Africa. This is not a refinery built for Nigeria alone. This is infrastructure designed to reshape the energy supply map of a continent. When operating at scale, countries like Benin, Ghana, Togo, currently buying fuel from Europe, have a cheaper, closer option sitting right next door. Dangote doesn't need a political mandate to capture those markets. He just needs to be cheaper and consistent. That is the Rockefeller move. Control the refining choke point. Let geography close the deal. Here is where Dangote's story separates from Rockefeller's and becomes more instructive. Rockefeller fought economic actors, rival refiners, railroad barons, eventually the U.S. government, which broke Standard Oil into 34 companies in 1911. Dangote's enemies are not market competitors, they are rent extractors embedded inside the state itself. The fuel import cartel that ran Nigeria for 6 decades was not natural market competition. It was a deliberately constructed system built on access, import licenses, subsidized foreign exchange, government supply contracts. The people inside it made billions not by being efficient, but by controlling doors the government created and kept locked. That is an existential threat to people who have spent decades living inside that structure. In 2024, Dangote went public, accusing certain actors of deliberately routing cheaper crude away from his refinery to protect the import cartel. He filed formal petitions. Regulatory officials resigned. The entire arrangement became impossible to ignore. Rockefeller fought railroad barons. Dangote is fighting the people who designed the dysfunction and built their wealth on maintaining it. That is a fundamentally different kind of war. In April 2026, Dangote's group recorded first oil from the Kale Kwele field in the Niger Delta. Most headlines missed why this matters. The refinery's biggest vulnerability since coming online has been feedstock, getting consistent, affordable crude through the front door. When state-controlled supply channels were being weaponized against you, the logical move is to stop depending on them. Think of it like a restaurant owner who kept getting sabotaged by his only supplier. The solution is not to negotiate harder. The solution is to buy a farm. Kale Kwele is the farm. It's not just oil production, it's strategic insulation. It represents the final piece of a closed-loop monopoly, securing the raw materials needed to run the machine independently. Add the maritime shipping fleet being assembled to cut crude sourcing costs and the 4,000 CNG-powered trucks delivering fuel directly to filling stations, bypassing the depot layers that extracted margin at every step, and the full architecture becomes visible. Dangote is not building a business, he is building a vertically integrated sovereign infrastructure inside a state that never built one for itself. Nigeria is not the exception, it is the template. Angola produces oil and imports fuel. Venezuela, sitting on the world's largest proven reserves, spent decades in energy poverty while its refineries rotted. The Democratic Republic of Congo exports raw cobalt and coltan, then imports finished electronics manufactured from those same materials at 10 times the value. The pattern is structural. Resource-rich nations are positioned as raw material exporters and finished goods importers. The value add happens elsewhere. The economic surplus goes elsewhere. This is the residue of colonial economic architecture that was never dismantled after independence. Local elites inserted themselves as intermediaries, collecting fees for facilitating a flow that still served external interests. The faces changed, the structure stayed intact. Nigeria's fuel import cartel is that architecture expressed in its most naked form. Dangote's refinery is a structural challenge to the entire logic. Whether it succeeds is not purely a business question, it's a political question. Can a state that organized itself around extraction and intermediary rent tolerate the infrastructure that makes that arrangement redundant? Rockefeller won his version of that fight because American institutions, for all their dysfunction, ultimately allowed capital to reorganize markets. Dangote is running the same play inside a state where those institutions were built to prevent exactly that reorganization. The refinery is either the beginning of Nigeria's industrial pivot or the most expensive lesson in petrostate capture ever constructed in steel and concrete. The outcome will tell us everything about how power actually works in resource-rich nations. And we're watching it happen in real time.